morning everyone. आज हमारे साथ हैं कैप्टन प्रभुनाथ. Prabhunath is working as an assistant vice president with G4S Securities, and he personally is responsible for protecting the corporate assets of Google as the client, and he handles the entire Google national assets for G4S. Now, today we have invited him to have a discussion with us and tell us the various aspects of corporate security and as to how officers can find their groove in this particular domain and what are the advantages, etc. So I welcome you to the talk, Prabhu, and let's see how we can guide these officers.
Thank you so much, Vipul. So grateful to you. And we'll surely give our best. Whatever little we know, we'll just share whatever we know.
Okay, so let me ask you, let me open the talk with a very generic question. What is it that you actually do in your job? Because लोगों का एक जो security को लेकर के idea है वो बड़ा basic होता है, especially physical security की कोई guarding का काम होगा इस तरह से. I would like to know what does your day looks like? What kind of assets does your team provide security to? What kind of corporate assets they protect? So I mean, what's the business impact of what you and your team do, the work which you people do?
Thanks, Vipul. So before I get on the question per se, good morning once again to everyone present here, and thank you so much for joining in, because without you, this talk show has no value at all. And your presence on a day on which India is going to play the finals, speaks of your commitment to your career. Hats off to your sincerity and your commitment for your career. And one disclaimer, gentlemen, that I usually give, or any professional would give, you would also give when you go as a representative of the armed forces, that whatever you say, you are not saying it on behalf of the armed forces. Similarly, whatever I say here is entirely mine, understanding of the 17 years I've spent in the corporate street. Having said that, now coming to the question of Vipul, what I do. So primarily, the role which I do is different from the common understanding of security, because I'm neither doing physical security, neither I'm actually utilizing those services. I'm in a way a bridge between two giants in their own standing. Google doesn't need any introduction as our client. G4S, for those of you who are aware of security or people who in the security, also in a way doesn't need an introduction, because both are in a way leaders in their own sectors. Now, these two clients are so big that they cannot directly interact with each other on day-to-day basis. Like Google will have multiple vendors, a plethora of vendors. Similarly, G4S has no more than 10,000 clients. So it's difficult for the stakeholders, key stakeholders on both sides, to interact on day-to-day basis. Their only coming together happens at the time of the bidding and finalization of the bidding process. Once Google floats a tender for security, and once G4S bids, and once the contract is awarded, thereafter the two entities get separated again. And they need someone who can act as a bridge between these two giants, wherein they don't have to interact with multiple stakeholders within these organizations to run this contract effectively. So herein comes my role as a national account manager, that everything which Google needs from G4S goes through me, and everything what G4S has to provide to Google also goes through. So I, in a way, act as a facilitator. You can call me a bridgehead, you can call me a someone who coordinates among these two giants. So that's primarily my role broadly at the strategic level, but it doesn't end there. In a way, I'm responsible from ensuring that the guard has the right shoes, to ensuring that G4S gets the desired margin out of this business. And at the same time, Google gets the max value of this contract. So it's a beautiful mix of very, very tactical from highly strategic. That's broadly, Vipul, I would define my role as.
Okay. Now, since you have like a good corporate professional being able to tell us as to what an officer can actually look at the kind of duties they can be looking at if they choose to be on a similar path. My next question would be: are there some minimum certifications or courses, etc., which you can suggest to officers who intend to be in the security domain so that they can do a successful transition into physical security, asset protection, etc.?
There are, in fact, a few very no desirable. I'll say they are not must have, but they are certainly desirable. And why so? I mean, more than the value of the certification you will derive, I think the best no, takeaway of any certification to the client is that it shows your growing mindset, right? That you are a continuous learner, you are ready to learn, progressive. I think that's the most valuable trait which any hirer looks at. Because if you just come only with legacy, it works sometimes. I won't say that if you don't do the certification, you won't crack it. You can certainly crack it, and many people have done it. But this is, I see as the most important aspect, that it reflects a very positive, trainable, progressive mindset to the client who's going to hire. And coming on to the certification per se, I think the gold standard certification is CPP, which is most of you are aware. Many of you would have already done it as well. That is Certified Protection Professional. This is the one is the gold standard, and probably all of us are eligible to do that. I won't suggest you to do PSP and the APP side of it. Somebody who's interested in investigation can do a PCI. These certifications are all driven by ACES, and probably I know these days why it is CPP is becoming important, because many corporates are now making it as a mandatory or a desirable certification whenever they are advertising their job profile. So that's one security per se. Vipul, if you want, I can also add few others
Yes.
certification which may be of use. So
Yeah,
another
sure.
certificate. Yeah, sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Vipul.
No, keep adding. I'm just noting them down. You said CPP and
Okay.
next.
Okay. So security per se, somebody wants to join only security, I think CPP is good enough. And you would need around 6 months. वैसे तो आप मुझे लगता है many of you are staff colleges and all, you will hardly need 1 month. But just to align, be prepared, and give a foolproof shot, 6 months is enough. I think 3 is also enough. But take it as a max on side on 6 months, because I mean preparation is never ending. But I think if you decide, you fill the form, put 3 months, your test date 3 months ahead, and I'm sure everyone of you will be through. In fact, you don't need any guidance as well. Let me tell you, just study the material and believe. If you have cracked so many exams, this is peanuts. So if somebody is trying to scare you that this is a very tough certification, I don't buy that at all. Now, if in addition to that, see, primarily this is applicable to the corporate side of the security, not to the manufacturing. Anyway, it's relevant there as well. But if you want to get into corporate security, another certification I would suggest is PMP, because for the corporates, everything is a project, right? Everything will have a timeline, have a start date, end date, a definite deliverables, a definitive budget, a definitive team, timeline. So if you can do that certification, then that in a way also communicates that you are a time-driven professional, project-driven professional. You don't take it as a long-term 5-year plan. So this certificate also in a way adds value to the legacy experience which you bring. So I think to get into security, if you do these 2 certifications, I think you're good enough. If you again want to, because even security is a broader, very broad. If you want to get into business continuity, disaster management, maybe CBCP can be another qualification. But I think primarily if you do CPP, PMP, I think you're good enough to get it.
Okay. So from what I could gather, nowadays corporates, when they're looking for security professionals, as a first filter, they use CPP. So CPP for an armed forces officer is not from the perspective of getting a job or to prove that she or he is capable of being a security professional, but more so to clear the filter of being called for an interview.
Absolutely. I also see it that way.
Okay. Now, my next question would be, since you mentioned ASIS, and I'm sure there would be some other forums also. Are there any industry or business forums where officers can look for guidance, mentorship, or say networking or job opportunities within the industry domain of security? Any security specific networking forums or professional forums? One is what you named ASIS, and
Okay.
how do people go about developing their networks there?
Okay. So, Vipul, I'll see that charity begins at home. So, where we are today, Value Networks is another great platform to start with. I mean, though it's not purely security, but it gives you a bouquet of career options and help mentorship guidelines. So, Value Talks is one. ACES, of course, is the primary body for the security industry, and ACES is a US-based non-profit organization, and it has country-wide chapters. Even within India, we have city-wide chapters. So somebody wants to join that. No, you don't have to move anywhere. Most of the metros have a local chapter, like Delhi has it, Bangalore has it, Pune has it, Chennai would have it. So you can, and then of course there is a fee to it, and you can go online to the ACES website and see the, what is the fees for becoming members. And in fact, there's a plethora of information there in terms of certification in becoming a member. So the advantage of taking the membership is that you get a chance to attend their chapters. Then chapters also conduct a lot of professional development programs, talks of this nature, what we are having today, plus the annual AGM. So that's a great platform to start or seek an entry into the security fraternity. Besides this, for the companies which are based in US or US based company, there's a organization called OSAC, which is run by the Department of Defense of the US government. So this is not I mean, you cannot just go and become a member of OSAC. If your company is an US based organization, you become a part of it. They also conduct quarterly meetings or annual meetings and some career building talks. Primarily it is to safeguard the interest of the US based companies in any country.
So, from what I understand, then if you are an officer in India and you want to start developing your network and connects and get better opportunities and mentorship, then ASIS, that's Alpha Sierra India Sierra, is the key organization. You can take a membership and start attending their online as well as physical events. Would that be a correct statement, Prabhu?
Yes, Vipul. That would be one. And besides that, I mean, in the same flow, if I can take it, Anand, and pardon me for not getting your ranks right or not using it because I'm not aware of it. So please grant me that. Anand, we can take on that question if it is later on, if it is not that urgent. Or okay, so Vipul, just taking it further, then we all know Colonel Iqbal. He runs a very, very valuable platform called Force Network. That's also a great Google group and platform to get connected and get a lot of information, not only security, but from networking perspective, that's a great platform. It's only open to officers from the armed forces. So that's very, very elite network. And you really get a lot of valuable information in terms of generic info, emerging technologies, job posts, pan India. In fact, there are members which are global. I mean, they're based and they are of great help. Besides this, LinkedIn is a great platform to start with. That's an individual derived. So there are many security professionals and groups on LinkedIn, which you can be part of. You can be a part of to start with. One reference could be to Rahul's page of M2C, that is military to corporate. That's also a great page or LinkedIn Connect where you can start with. Then we have Captain Venkatesh, who's running ForgeNet, and he's doing some latest venture. I forget his name as of now of his latest venture, but Captain Venkatesh is also a well established name in the industry. So these are some of the channels or places to begin with you can use to build your network. That's
awesome.
All. Yes.
Okay, now the general feeling is that armed forces officers, they have a very strong, I would say, a background, like a precedent, or they're generally viewed as competent professionals in the security domain. Still, what is the competition to them? I mean, how are the professionals from the civil competing with the armed forces officers vis-a-vis their education, and what kind of skills do these people acquire so that we are aware of as to where the competition lies?
That's a very, very valid, relevant, and an issue, or rather a subject we which we must ponder, because that's the basic of, I mean, competitor evaluation is one of the basic elements of whatever we do. So I agree, armed forces officers are a great fit for this industry, but unfortunately, we are not the only pool of resources from where the industry hires these days. So in addition to the armed forces per se, we have a similar set of resource pool from the paramilitary forces, then various police forces, intelligence agencies, which are part of the Ministry of Home Affairs. In addition to that, there's a parallel, you know, it's an organic security resource pool of one of the largest corporate giants of the India, that is the Reliance. So some of us only went to Reliance and created a miniature version of our academies there. They also call it as Reliance Security Academy, or RGGS, they call it. And they have also started training people there. It's a very short 3 months, a quarter capsule, but they cover a lot of things which are more relevant to corporate than what we learn, which is more relevant to armed forces. I mean, it's obvious that we serve different masters and we have our own purposes from these academies. So those batches are also quite old in nature. I mean, the duration is short, so the churning is fast, and their availability in the market is more, and they come at a very, very attractive hiring bracket in terms of the budgets. So, and over the years they have gained a foothold in various corporates. They started at the bottom of the rung, but gradually they have moved up, and in some cases they are heading the countrywide position, even regional roles as well. So that's I see as a very, very potent, I won't say threat, but a potent competition for armed forces officers. And of course, the various security agencies, people who start with the security agency, when they get a chance, they move into the corporate roles, and they also grow bottom up. And some of these fellas have also risen up to national level, regional roles. So primarily, these three buckets are a major competition to the armed forces officers.
So if I club together the uniformed forces, the tri-services and the central armed police forces, would you say that still have an edge over others in terms of uh, being there and doing that kinds, because of the fact that our training is much intense, and the kind of security situations which we have faced much more in depth?
Vipul, I think it's not the way the industry perceives. No, in terms of respect, definitely yes, but there is no major difference between the armed forces versus paramilitary, because the HRs or the decision maker initially are not so aligned to the rigorous training curriculums of these organizations. For them, in a way, all uniform services are on a way similar platform. So that's, I mean, I won't say sad, but that's how it is.
Okay. Now, since a lot of us who are wanting to be in the security domain, a very natural question would be, and this is something which uh, is there, what kind of a growth path in terms of remuneration and positions one can expect in the industry? I mean, how attractive is the industry from a professional reward viewpoint, not just the work content, but the money which it puts into my bank account, and the kind of promotions or the positions I can expect after 5 years, 10 years kind of an experience.
So, Vipul, from that perspective, now if I can segment it for two set of officers, because see, everyone is not coming from the similar experience bracket. So, for the very senior officers, our seniors who's coming after pensionable service, and maybe even more,